بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam thumma amma ba'd. This is your brother Abdul Wahaab Faulk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just want to take the time out to speak with you for a few minutes, inshallah ta'ala, especially in light of everything that has been going on within the last few weeks. Obviously, I'm talking about in regards to the coronavirus. Now, this whole talk is basically going to be contingent upon the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said, ad-din nasiha, that the religion is sincere advice and it's to be implemented sincerely. Now, having said that, the reason why I'm even giving this talk is going to be broken down into three parts. The first part is going to be basically an individual advice, personal advice. The second advice that I have is more of a communal advice. And then the third piece of advice that I have is for the leaders of the community, whether a person be an imam or a student of knowledge or a sheikh or what have you. These are the three pieces of advice that I have. Now, this is just my advice, inshallah ta'ala. It's not nothing written in stone, but you can take it or leave it, inshallah. But the first piece of advice that I have, like I said, in regard to the individual themselves. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Kafa bi-mar'i ithman an yuhadditha bi kulli ma sami'," which basically means that it's sufficient, it is enough for a man, for a sin, for him or her to narrate everything that they hear. Now, why is that even important, especially in this particular time? Well, we live in a time where people are afraid. They're genuinely afraid of a lot of different things, whether they're afraid for their livelihood, they're afraid for their family, they're afraid for various different things, their health, or they're afraid of dying, and all these particular things. Whether somebody deems that fear to be valid or not, the reality is that people are genuinely afraid. Now, what happens here by a person narrating everything that they hear, they're not fact checking, they're not checking their messages, just forwarding messages. Or, for an example, a certain group of people are immune to the coronavirus or this, that, and the third. SubhanAllah, it's very important for us to stick to our deen, and the part of our deen is to fact check at the end of the day. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions in the Quran, that if someone comes with some news, then you verify it. So that and this will basically, honestly, to be totally honest with you, this will circumvent a lot of different problems that we're actually experiencing. So again, the first piece of advice is that for everyone to fact check before they start spreading everything that they hear. Again, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned kafa bi-mar'i ithman an yuhadditha bi kulli ma sami'. That's sufficient enough for a man in sin for them to narrate everything that they hear. Whether a person needs to be valid or that sounds true, just fact check, inshallah ta'ala, before you actually send these things out. Especially, like I said, we're living in a time where emotions are extremely, extremely high. Another piece of advice that I have also is reflect on the time that we actually are living in. We live in a time where masajid are being closed, whether you agree with it or not, whether masajid are being closed. And generally, as a Muslim, in general, this is going to hurt the hearts of the believers. But I also want you to take the time to reflect on what can happen next. And what I mean by what can happen next is by perhaps there can be some good in this. Whereas before, where a person was not really concerned with coming to the masjid, I'm not speaking towards every individual, but where a person was not concerned with coming to the masjid, the mere fact that some of the masajid are being closed may cause an individual now, once the masajid open again, may cause them to yearn for the masjid, may cause them to want to come to the masjid. And Allah does, Allah is just in everything that he does. But again, like I said, it may cause an individual to make them yearn and their heart to bleed out for the masjid, for no one to hear the adhan once again. So there could be some khair in it as well, if you look at it from this aspect. Also, in regards to that, take this time out to reflect on the hadith, that there are 7 types of people that will have the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a day where there is no shade other than the shade of Allah. And one of those people is رَجُلْ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلِّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ, that a man whose heart is attached to the masajid. Even if you may live in a particular area or a particular state or a particular city where your masajid has been closed, but it doesn't stop your heart from being connected to the masajid. It doesn't stop you from wanting to yearn and love to be there, to hear the adhan, to be amongst the musallin, and so on and so forth. So again, that's just a piece of advice in regards to the individual. The second advice, I'm not going to take a long period of time here, but the second advice that I have is more of a communal advice. Okay. Now, when I say a communal advice, I want to start off with a person who either fears that they may be sick, they may have certain a'rad, they may have certain symptoms, okay, or even they don't have these particular symptoms, just having that fear in general. First and foremost, I want to start off by narrating two narrations. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. That none of you truly believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And I'll tell you why I'm using these narrations. The second piece of advice that I have is also the Prophet ﷺ also mentioned, إِنَّ اللَّهَ فِي عَوْنِ الْعَبْدِ مَا دَامَ الْعَبْدِ فِي عَوْنِ أَخِيهِ. That indeed Allah will always help out His servant so long as His servant help each other out. The reason why I'm narrating these two narrations, and I'm going to break it down further, is first and foremost, generally we want good health and we want goodness for everybody, inshallah. So this is why we encourage the people, if they are experiencing certain symptoms or they're sick or they fear that they're going to become sick, that they remove themselves especially from the elders in the community, because we want to be obviously concerned for our elders. We don't want our elders to get sick or more sick or even pass away, unfortunately. All right, so that's just a piece of advice in regard to that, of merely just wanting for another individual what you want for yourself. Now, also, having said that, I want to use several different narrations. I want to mention a few different narrations, two of them that has been narrated by the Prophet ﷺ, and then two other narrations in regards to that has been used by Umar bin Khattab, or has happened to Umar bin Khattab. The first piece of advice that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, he said, لا يورد ممرض المصيح, that the ill should not mix with those who are not ill, those who are healthy, for the mere fact of it is in the best interest of those who are not ill to become sick. And that's self-explanatory in and of itself, which is also why some of the masajid have taken the course of action to close down the masajid out of fear of other people becoming sick. And the reason why I'm narrating this is because it's unfortunate. It seems that a lot of people have just jumped on board and you don't fear Allah because you're closing the masjid, or you're doing this and you're doing this. And it's not befitting that we start judging each other's integrity in regards to this. So that's one of the reasons why I just want to mention this small piece of advice. Okay, so therefore, going back to the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, who said, "La yurid mumrid al-musih," that the ill should not mix with the sick. The second thing is, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was taking bay'ah from the people. Okay, when he was taking bay'ah from the people, there was one particular individual. He was suffering from a particular sickness. And the sickness that he was suffering from, he actually still wanted to come and give bay'ah to the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ, so the Prophet sent a man to him to inform him, all right, that we have accepted your bay'ah, farja', that we have accepted your bay'ah, and it's upon you to return. And the scholars of Islam, they mentioned the reason why the Prophet ﷺ actually did this was to preserve, obviously, the rest of the community. So the same actions can be taken, and notice that the Prophet ﷺ was proactive. Okay, he was proactive, and this is also why it is good in certain areas, why certain masajid have taken certain courses of action to prevent the people from also becoming sick. Okay, now also the other two narrations that I wanted to mention in regards to dealing with Umar bin Khattab. Okay, and the first narration is very, very important, because unfortunately a lot of people have basically tajawuz al-had, they have went beyond the bounds, and I hear from several people within different communities where if a person doesn't come to the masjid, we start to judge the person's integrity. Now, it goes both sides now. If you have a community where the masjid is open, okay, and people are praying, alhamdulillah, then a person who has decided to close his masjid should not attack this individual, and vice versa. But then going back to the narration of Umar bin Khattab, And the reason why I mentioned it, I want you to think about the example that I just gave. Okay, so Umar Khattab, when a plague broke out, especially in Sham, Umar Khattab was on his way to visit this particular area. And what happened, there was a famous companion by the name of Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, who was obviously from those 10 companions that was granted Jannah. So on the way there, the plague broke out, and Umar Khattab was informed of this particular plague. And he actually had a council with the Muhajirin and also some of the Ansar as to what he should actually do. At the end of the day, in a long narration, Umar Khattab, he decided to return back. He decided to turn back and not go to Sham. Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, he mentioned, "Afirara min qadrillah." Umar, are you running from the qadr of Allah? And Umar Khattab, he mentioned something I think is very, very important. And one of the things that he mentioned, "Law ghayraka qalaha ya Abu Ubaidah." Had anyone else other than you said this, Abu Ubaidah? All right, so even though Umar wasn't attacking Abu Ubaidah, but he said, had anyone else said it other than you? And Umar Khattab, he added, he said that, yes, I'm running from the qadr of Allah to the qadr of Allah. The reason why I want to mention this particular narration is none of us today are more pious than Umar Khattab. But notice here that Umar's integrity wasn't put into question. Okay? And we didn't start finger pointing and so on and so forth. We didn't say that Umar didn't fear Allah because he didn't go inside Sham and into Nineveh. So basically what my advice, the communal advice, is that if you are in a community where certain masajid have been closed, if that's the opinion that they take, if that's the ijtihad, they want to be proactive in that regard, then no doubt about it, it's definitely it's going to hurt the hearts of the believers. But if we shouldn't use this as a time to start finger pointing against each other, okay? And also vice versa, if you live in that same community where some of the masajid have been left open, and some people are trying to gather, okay, to worship, excuse me, then we shouldn't also point fingers and go back and forth. This is just general advice that I have. Also, now, excuse me, the second narration in regards to Umar Khattab that I want to mention was also during the time of Umar Khattab. There was a woman who was also suffering from a sickness, وَكَانَتْ تَطُوفُ بِالْكَعْبَةِ, and she was going around the Kaaba. فقال عمر رضي الله عنه, he said to the woman, لا تؤذي الناس لو جلست في بيتك. Do not harm the people with the sickness that you have had you only stayed in your home. Had you only stayed in your home. فجلست, so she remained in her home. Then, excuse me, after that, in some of the narrations, after Umar has passed away, it mentioned that a man passed by her, and he said that the one who has ordered you to stay at home, فقط مات, he has passed away now. فاخرجي, and you can leave out. It's mentioned that the woman went on to mention that, the woman went on to mention that I obeyed him when he was alive. I'm not going to disobey him now that he has passed away. The point is also, notice here that the woman, كانت تطوف بالكعبة, she was going around one of the most holiest places, or the holiest place that we know of. And the Prophet, but Umar Khattab, he stopped her. Why? Because of the maslahah of the people. لا تؤذي الناس لو جلست في بيتك. Do not harm the people with the sickness that you have. If it was better if you remained at home. Okay, but now again, her integrity wasn't put into question. I can't stress this enough, that we are mindful and we're cognizant of what we actually say and what we when we attack each other. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned, من كانت له مظلمة لأخيه من إرضه أو شيء فيتحلل منه اليوم. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, whoever has harmed their brother or their sister likewise, whether it be from their honor or from their integrity, whether it be from their honor or anything else other than that, then let them go and beg them for their mercy before they come on a day where there's no way to repay them back except by giving up your good deeds. Again, this is just mere advice to myself first and foremost. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, أَتَعْمُرُ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, do you command the people of righteousness while you forget yourself in the process? So it's advice for myself first and foremost as well. All right. Now also in regards to the nasiha, as I said, it was broken into 3 parts. The advice that I have for the religious leaders of the community. The third piece of advice is regards to take advantage of the time as well. excuse me. I'm sorry. To take advantage of the time that we have, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Ni'matan maqbun fihi ma kathir min an-nas as-sihha wa farag." That there are two things that the people are very heedless of, and unfortunately they're very heedless of, which is their free time and their health. The reason why I say that is now that even though that some of the masajid have been closed, if you're a part of a masjid where you're part of an area, where your masjid has been closed, then I think that to not just stop, don't just stop giving class. You can give class, take advantage, alhamdulillah. You can give class via different social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, or Zoom, or wherever platform that you want to use. And you can encourage the people, even though they may be staying at home, and encourage the people to benefit via these social media platforms as well, even during the month of Ramadan. And no doubt about it, and this is just my own personal opinion, it's going to be very different. Even if the whole issue of the coronavirus gets cleared up prior to Ramadan, you have to be very aware, and you have to be cognizant of the fact that people are still going to be afraid. So you're going to have some people that are still not going to come out for Tarawih. And again, this is in light of hopefully that everything passes through before Ramadan. So I think that it's very it's advantageous especially for the for us to take the advantage of the opportunity to have classes via online to help everybody out, inshallah ta'ala. Again, this is just a piece of advice, 3 small pieces of advice from your brother Abdul Wahaab Faulk. Jazakallah khair for taking the time out to listen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.